Welcome to the Being Curious Show. I'm Brian Mariani, founder of No Shift Own.
And I'm Kelly Wagner, publisher of Edge magazine. Our show is about curiously connecting teachers and seekers on a wide range of topics in a safe space. Few topics will be off limits, and we have some amazing guests to share with you.
Our intention is that our conversations will spark your own curiosity to create a life that lights you up and inspires you to be kind, thoughtful, open-minded to yourself and others.
We are on AM 950, Sundays at 2 p.m. and all podcast platforms. So, Brian, what are you curious about today?
Welcome to the first episode of Being Curious with Brian and Kelly. Here we are.
Yay.
Why would anyone listen to this?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. That's what's so crazy. So you are Brian Mariani, owner of No Shift Own.
And you are Kelly Wagner, owner of the Edge magazine.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, you guys. Yeah, we're here. And we are on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We are so blessed for this opportunity to partner with Chad and his team on this platform and to launch this show, this podcast, this experience of being curious, because that's what we are.
That is absolutely what we are. And this was born out of our friendship and curiosity of each other. And we meet weekly, and we have for a long time.
Yep.
And
one time we were on the phone and we were like, we should be recording this.
I was like, what was that moment where we were just like, okay, these conversations are interesting enough that we keep having them. So maybe, just maybe, we should record them.
We should record it. And with our background, so yours in health and wellness and business and finance and partnerships, and then mine in the mashup of spiritual, metaphysical, business, and me just being Kelly, we have a lot to bring to this community and share. And I'm really excited as we've put the APB out to our communities and who we want to be bringing in and why people should care. So here's my question for you, Brian, is like, you're super curious about so many different things. Why would someone want to listen to this show?
I think that people will listen to this show because we don't have time. We don't have time in our space to not be up to a big game in life.
Yeah.
And we're both super focused on that. And we're both very focused on creating opportunities for people to engage in finding their passions and, figuring out how to be successful doing something that they love. That's
and
really
service to others. That's one thing.
Being in service.
Huge. I never really thought that I was in service of others until you made me go Kelly, oh my gosh. So that is something that we're definitely unified, but also having fun while we're doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
We gotta have fun.
I mean, that's amazing. And what was interesting as we were putting this together, so we've been crafting this for a couple months, and oh gosh, again, AM50 has been very generous with their patience as we've been crafting it. We put out, I would say, one email to a very select group of people, and all of them booked. So our show is launching in April 2022, and we've already booked through August of 2022 of our guests. And we haven't even started yet.
We haven't even started. I think that's a good gauge for understanding that people would want to have these conversations with us. I mean, we send out one email, we're already booked through August, and we have so many extraordinary people in our lives. I think that was something else that really inspired us was we're having these conversations with these amazing people all the time, and we're getting so much value from it. Why not give that to as many people as possible? Absolutely. I think that was the clear thing is how could we ever just hold this to ourselves? Let's get these conversations out there.
Yeah. Well, and in the new energy of people really supporting each other. So I love when you come back and you're like, I met with these people and these people and these people today, and we're going to be able to do this and this and this. And then I come to you and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just got this, this, and this. And it's that celebrating it with each other. And it's that pooling the resources together and again, celebrating the wins when other people would be like, oh, this is mine and I'm going to be jealous or I'm going to this or that. You and I created this platform, this stage for each other to just shine as best as we can. And also, normally I'm based out of Minneapolis, you're on the East Coast, and with how everything is unfolding, is you might actually be traveling to Minneapolis on a regular basis to do these shows together. So that is an honor, and it really shows that we are onto something exciting.
Yeah, I'm so coming out here really solidified even more that this is something important that is kind of beyond our decision making. It just has to be done. And we're going to do it in a great way. We're partnering with AM 950. We have our dear friend Daryl Bolachek, who's the founder of Wild Horse Recording. By the way, he's producing the show.
Yep.
How freaking awesome is that? It's awesome because his expertise and his just love for this art is
crafting of it,
right?
Yeah, crafting of it.
So for everyone out there, just know that there's a masterclass producer behind this that's going to make us, hopefully, it's going to make us look much better than like who we actually are. He's going to let us
stumble and fall a little bit. He's definitely going to let us have that latitude, but then he might Botox us up and make us look a little bit better than we probably would have otherwise. And again, our partners with AM 950. So, Brian, what are the type of people that you think that we're going to be on here? Because just looking at the guest list so far, we are in full spectrum from astrologers to psychics to past life regression to EFT to marketing people and leaders. And I would say like thought leaders in our space that we have interest in. And again, with your background and my background, we put these people in. We're curious and we're seekers and we're constantly doing research all the time. And I really believe that this is going to be a platform where we can go to people and go, okay, you can talk to others, but Brian and Kelly are onto something and I'm going to listen to who they bring on. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's really what everyone can expect from us is that we're not going to bring a guest on and just be like, what does it mean to be a hypnotist? We are going to discover who that person is that chose that path and then how people can access it. That's really important, is like giving a roadmap to, oh, I've never even heard of this thing called a hypnotist. But through that conversation, I got to know the person that is the hypnotist, like really their character, like what drives them to do the work that they do. Right. And that's really what we want people to get, is that we're all people. Mm-hmm. And even, when we have superstars on this show, we want to show people that this is who this person's character is. And there's these elements and experiences in their lives that allowed them to make the decision to be who they are. And that's really what we want to deliver, is to invite you to be curious. Like, get curious about yourself, figure out what lights you up. And we're hoping that the guests and the conversations we're having will allow that to happen in a lot of people. For them to see something, for them to hear something in someone else's story that sparks something in them to take on a path of mastery, of creating success, joy, happiness, love in their lives.
That's fantastic. We're also going with a different format structure than a lot of shows in our space. And we're going to do 3 segments. So the first segment is really that, why are you curious? What made you curious? And we're going to try to follow this with each guest and really get to know some background on the guest. And then the middle is kind of the meat of the bones of the section for the show, and really just diving deep with that person and their why. And then wrapping it up with, like, what do they have gift to offer the community, because every single guest we want to bring in with some sort of beautiful offer, some sort of gift, some sort of connection to not only the Edge community, the No Shift Own community, our communities, AM 950, but we really, really want to bring and intend to bring people that are going to bring value. I mean, that's true. I mean, like, seriously. And if we're curious about marketing, or we're curious about numerology, or we're curious, those are the people that we're going to be bringing in and having fun with it and asking them their why and asking them about what drives them and what that got them curious. And I'm rambling and it's silly because it's the first show, so I'm allowed to. So there.
Yeah, and we're having a great time. And that's what matters most. Is we're doing something that we love. So again, it always wants to be full circle. It's like, well, why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because we're having a lot of fun, and we're doing something that we love, and we're adding value.
Absolutely.
We're literally connecting as many people as we can with an abundant resource of content that is raw and real, and probably a lot of things that people hear on this show, they literally may not have ever heard about. I mean,
maybe
in
kind of
your
heard a
world,
little
you've
bit.
got connections with, people who talk to aliens and,
Dead
past
people.
life, dead. I mean, just all of these things.
Right.
Talk a little bit about some of those guests and maybe some of the conversations that are going to happen there.
Absolutely. So publisher Edge Magazine, edgemagazine.net is our website. But the Edge Magazine is a 30-year-old holistic health, metaphysical magazine that was actually purchased by my husband and I a year ago. And we went from this VP of marketing space where he's a graphic designer. I'm a web designer. I was in marketing, left it, fell off the cliff, jumped in and purchased the magazine. And we'll do a show sometime about the whole of Edge Magazine. But it is a resource. It's a leading resource for higher consciousness, holistic health, people being curious and curious in different realms. So one thing that we're really trying to do at the Edge is create this beautiful space, the safe space, as we are in the world right now, and such just the craziness, and creating this safe space for teachers and seekers to come together and ask questions and support each other. And again, being vulnerable together and saying, okay, let's do this, and let's do this together, because teachers can learn from their students and students can learn from the teachers every single day. And the Edge wants to create this space for people. So we are going to have, we're putting together our next edition right now, and we have authors and contributors of just from naturopath and functional medicine doctors to acupuncturists to Christine Day, who channels the Palladian message, and intergalactic dating and astrology and
Did
numerology.
you just say intergalactic dating?
I did say intergalactic dating. It's Michael Alijan and Celeste, their goodness to you. And just all of these different people in all of these different spaces. So the Edge is this beautiful platform that we're so honored to have and to be the ambassador of and carrying the torch. And that is so exciting for me to be here and to have this platform. And then to mash it up with you and No Shift Own. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it really is a great synergy between us, because you have just access to all of the people that are doing so many different things. And my passion, the name of my business, No Shift Own, which stands for Know My Body, Shift My Mind, Own My Future. And I love looking at the process of really understanding my physical body. And I think if people spend time getting to know who they really are, they can start shifting maybe their perspective, shifting their habits, creating some new disciplines in their life based on what's best for themselves, and ultimately taking ownership for their life. And I truly believe that anybody that goes through that process that's a happier person. I know through my own process of life, when I started to pay attention and walk through that process in myself, I'm a much happier person than I was prior to that.
Absolutely.
And so those are the conversations that we want to have. And we believe that through the person that you are and I am, we're going to allow our guests to share in this really authentic way and have conversations that ultimately really allow all of you out there to get more curious about yourself and to start to pay attention to the things that really light you up, that give you energy. So we want these conversations to give you energy, to be more curious about your own life so that you can then share that out in the world. Be more curious.
Well, and we're so blessed again with this platform. So AM 950, we're going to be on every Sunday at 2:00. And we're part of their wonderful weekend programming. This is also going to be on our podcast channel on Anchor and iTunes and Spotify. So we're going to be able to use that platform as well. So it's not just that regional reach. And then we are going to be also reaching out on Facebook Live as we get everything going. So as this is our first show, we're trying to put everything together in a mashup. We really thought we'd take this first segment and this to really just introduce ourselves and that we're blessed to be here. And that we're so glad to be partnering up. And we are such a good team. And we just kind of go back and forth in the shorthand. We actually on edgemagazine.net, we have a multimedia section. So you'll see some of the interviews that Brian and I have done up into this. And again, we're so incredibly excited. And we also want everyone to contact us and who are people that they want to see on the show, because I think that would be really important for us as well. So Brian.
Yeah, reach out.
Reach out.
Say hi.
Take us away to our first commercial break.
We're so excited. We are going to break. We'll be right back. This is Being Curious with Brian and Kelly.
This is Kelly Wagner, publisher of Edge Magazine and co-host of the Being Curious show with Kelly and Brian, Sundays at 2 p.m. The Edge Magazine is a print and online leading events and media resource dedicated to all aspects of holistic living, health and wellness, and the mysteries beyond. We are committed to connecting teachers and seekers who support our collective journey to wholeness and balance. We are back in print at over 200 drop spots in the Midwest and can be found online at edgemagazine.net.
Welcome back. This is Being Curious with Kelly and Brian. We are so excited to dive in. Kelly, tee it up.
Here we go, you guys. Special guests Ann Pryor and Risa Kasmirski. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
I've slaughtered it in the past, so I wanted to make sure I did it properly
it's
today.
A lot, but yeah.
Ladies, we have so much to cover in such a short amount of time. I want you guys to introduce yourselves, say hello to the AM 950 Progressive Voice of Minnesota community, and we are honored. Okay, so paper, rock, scissors. Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to.
Okay, beautiful. Everybody, this is Ann Pryor.
Hi, Kelly and Brian. Nice to be here with you guys. My name is Ann Pryor. I'm a LinkedIn expert, and I'm creator of Lovitude, a soul painter, and then I speak at after-death communication conferences. Risa and I are really happy to be here today. Risa?
I am very happy to be here, very excited. I'm Risa Kasmirski. I'm an executive career coach and author of When Paradise Speaks, which we're going to be talking about, a mystic and a co-facilitator with Anne at various conferences around the whole topic of spirituality and after-death communication.
So tell me about what is a mystic?
What is a mystic?
Because it sounds magical and yummy and fun all at the same time.
To me, a mystic is a mindset where my mind is always thinking beyond this physical earth to what exists in the afterlife and lives in that space. Anne, do you have anything to add about that?
I just think you listen to your intuition really well, and then you share it with others, and it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I will say personally, Anne and Risa have been beautiful guides and inspiration in my family's life and in my life. And there's a little bit of Lovitude everywhere in our home. And if Lovitude.com, if you have not experienced the work, the frequency, the energy, please do. Because you could be having a really terrible day and get a little Lovitude that'll just kind of flash, whether it's your mouse pad or it's a LinkedIn banner or just a glimpse, and it'll just make you smile. And I will say that Anne and Risa were a part of our first launch, our relaunch of The Edge magazine. And please check it out because it's a beautiful story, beautiful artwork, and we're so blessed. So ladies, there's this book called When Paradise Speaks, and I actually brought my copy into the studio today because it is like torn up with all of my beautiful things and notes and messages and earmarks. And tell us about this book. Tell us about what inspired you. And people need to know about it.
Well, this is going to be a quick little overview of that story and kind of in 3 parts. So the story is about Anne and my co-worker and friend. Her name was Irene, and she passed suddenly. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, passed away 3 weeks later. And Anne and I, this was about 5.5 years ago, and Anne and I would go see her at the hospital and at hospice. Anne actually asked her to come back and send us messages and tell us what it's like on the other side. Asked her 3 times, in fact. So
you made it very clear.
We made it very clear, yes. But she died, and then the first time I feel like I saw her was when I was giving her eulogy. So I felt like she was sitting right in the audience looking over at everybody, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not handling this well. But for the next 3 months, she would be constantly around me. I'd feel her next to me in the car. I'd see her in crowds. She never spoke, but she was always around.
And are you telling Anne these during the time so you're having these touch bases? So you're not just driving going, uh-oh.
No,
okay.
Anne is definitely in on this whole crazy thing. So for 3 months, she was around me. Then after 3 months, intense dreams started. And if you've ever had a visitation dream, you will never forget it. You can touch the other person. You can look into their eyes. And in the dreams, she was giving me a lot of messages. So I began recording everything in journals. And by the end of the first year, I had 4 journals written. So Anne and I would be talking about these experiences and dreams because I needed to debrief with somebody, right? So after a year, and here we move into part 2, at the end of the first year, I thought I need to reach out to a medium, someone who connects with the other side, because maybe I just made this all up. So I called a medium, and the first thing she said is, your friend is here with the long red hair. And from then on, and for that whole hour, I got to communicate with Irene, who told me, write the book about this story and everything you'd ever know that I'd say, because we were such good friends. So I called up Anne, and I said, oh my gosh, Irene was here for the whole hour talking to me through a medium. And Anne said, maybe I should call the same medium because I would like to connect with my Aunt Carol who passed away. So Anne called the medium, and then Anne, tell us what happened.
Well, Kelly, you're a medium as well, so you understand this process. So when I talked to the medium, again, Irene came through, and she told me to bring Lovitude back into the world, and we'll share with you what Lovitude is more in a minute. And then she said to me to drip ink on plastic and blow it with my breath, and there would be big pieces of sheets of this plastic, and they would be like snowflakes in the world. And Lovitude is about love and gratitude inspired by spirit. Well, after I received the message, I really didn't know what to do with it. And so Risa and I happened to go on a yoga retreat in Costa Rica at Blue Spirit, which is the Omega Institute, a phenomenal place. And I ruminated, and when I got back, it was March 30th, 2017, there was a message that showed up on my calendar, and it said, New Life Opportunity. I erased it, and it came back. And I erased it, and it came back, and I called Risa, and I said, are we going to a conference on this? She said, no. Well, that's the day that I began to paint. And so the messages we were receiving frequently. And then, Reese.
And then, from then on, once Anne started painting, then it happened very quickly. And so if you get a chance to watch Anne paint, each piece is produced in between 3 and 5 minutes. And she is actually breathing spirit through her breath onto the plastic. And so it very quickly moved from there. She was on the Hallmark Home and Family show demonstrating soul painting. One of her paintings hangs in the Mayo Clinic. These days there's over 3,500 soul paintings around the world. And the images are made into products, so there's cards and scarves and things all over the world. So as Anne's painting and as time's continuing on, I'm getting messages still from Irene to tell Anne to infuse the gold. It's in the signature. I asked Irene, what are we supposed to do with this all? And she said, gather them in circles. That's where you begin. So I like to think in this conversation we're having right now, we are in a circle sharing this information.
So, Irene told me to bring Lovitude back into the world, so I'm going to step sideways here. In 2005, I was getting a master's degree in holistic health and well-being at St. Mary's University, and I was in the desert of Palm Springs writing my master's thesis, and I was working on a Buddha board, so just meditating using a Buddha board. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch. Maybe you've seen it with a paintbrush and water. And I was doodling on that. And there was a symbol that came to me. It's like a sideways L and a G attached with a sphere coming out of the front. And that symbol did not go away. And the word lovitude came to me very quickly. And lovitude means love and gratitude inspired by spirit. And at the same time, I was studying with Dr. Emoto. Perhaps you saw What the Bleep Do You Know? In that movie, Dr. Emoto was featured in addition to the miracle of water. Dr. Emoto took water samples around the world, wrote love and gratitude on one petri dish and hate and kill on another. And he then froze the water and thawed it. And you can't believe the images that showed from the crystallization in the water. So I'd like you to go to Dr. Emoto or The Miracle of Water and look at the YouTube. So I was meditating with that, and I decided then to create a pendant and give it to my college professors. Well, I stopped doing that in 2010, and Irene told me to bring Lovitude back into the world. So the impact now of these paintings has been really interesting, hasn't it, Risa? The stories are just sort of profound.
And when people are viewing the photos, sometimes like in Anne's gallery, she has all kinds of paintings to look at, and then there'll be a specific painting that really calls to a person. And each of Anne's paintings has a name to it. And the name will often be resonating with the person that's looking, or the painting will remind them of one of their ancestors or a healing moment in their life. And I know, Anne, you've got story after story of the impact. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about when you first started. What were the first paintings that came to you?
Mm-hmm. So it was 2016, and you know of the sort of unrest during that time. The first painting that came through me was called Sobbing Universe. And if you were to look at that painting, it's much like a waterfall, and inside of a kind of a triangular cup, and then on the left there would be flowers. So from that sobbing universe came hope, which is blue, and it looks like the universe with a peak of sun on the right. And from there came Peace Garden. And then from there came flowers. So the messages came through very quickly. And even Kelly knows that when she and Steve came over to videotape us about 1.5 years ago now, 2 pieces came through me very quickly. One that was called The Process, so trust the process as they built this new business. And the other one is called The Invitation. And those are featured on Kelly and Steve's new Edge magazine, which Reese and I were honored to be on. The other paintings that have blown through me are all inspired through spirit. And you folks on the call know our friend Echo Bodine. And Echo Bodine said that she and I were soul sisters on the other side. And after her near-death experience, she saw the same colors that I paint. And the colors are said to replace pain with love and joy for those of us on this side. And Risa and I were just painting and presenting to a group called Helping Parents Heal. It's an organization that of parents who have lost their children. And the piece that came through me was absolutely filled with joy. It was called Clapping Hands. And the music that came through was the song about happy, 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 you know that one. And so it was a little juxtaposition for the people in the audience that I was filled with so much joy from the other side to tell the parents here that they're so happy that their parents are still participating in the children's lives, and the children want them to be happy.
One thing you notice when Anne is painting, that she is in a flow, and sometimes it looks like, oh, she maybe dropped something on the side of the piece of plastic, and so she's got to start over. But no, everything that lands is exactly right. And I remember when we were working with those parents that you were a little nervous that the painting was so joyful when we were talking about loss, but it had a huge impact on the people that were with us in that circle.
And we all have this ability to connect with spirit. And the pieces that come through me fill me with joy, and they're not my paintings. They're the paintings for the people within the audience. There's one piece I want to pull out, and it's called Healing Breath. And my friend Dries and I played basketball together in college, and she called me and she said, Anne, could you just pray for my nephew who's dying of esophageal cancer? And I painted this piece that blew through me. And Risa says it looks like a waterfall sprinkler with beautiful blues and greens. And the interesting thing is it's with golds and silvers and copper colors. Well, we painted at Mayo Clinic not too long ago, Risa and I, for about 150 marketing people. And the marketing department now has it in the foundation office because it was so inspirational to the folks.
So, Anne, maybe you could tell them a little bit about where they could go to see more pieces of your work.
Sure. Kelly did mention Lovitude, and Lovitude is spelled Lovitude.com, and that will share us painting and different pieces, etc., that you can take a look at.
Well, and you can purchase the products. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do. It's a great destination and a great resource. Beautiful. Okay, so we just covered years and years and years in under 16 minutes. And what we're going to jump into in our next segment is the shift to network. And this is a very interesting opportunity, and we're really excited to share with everybody about it. This is the Being Curious with Kelly and Brian show, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We are with Anne Pryor and Risa, author of When Paradise Speaks, soul painter, Lovitude. You guys, this is exciting. Can't wait to come back. This is Kelly Wagner, publisher of Edge Magazine and co-host of the Being Curious show with Kelly and Brian, Sundays at 2 p.m. The Edge Magazine is a print and online leading events and media resource dedicated to all aspects of holistic living, health and wellness, and the mysteries beyond. We are committed to connecting teachers and seekers who support our collective journey to wholeness and balance. We are back in print at over 200 drop spots in the Midwest and can be found online at edgemagazine.net. And we are back. Being Curious with Kelly and Brian, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Closing out the last segment of the show with Anne and Risa. Ladies, tell us about
the Shift Network? Because, like, that's cool. Like, that's really fun. There's a story here. Go for it.
Well, Kelly, you know, you meditate, right? And I meditate. And so one day last year I was meditating, and I decided to just ask the angels and my guides, you know, what's next? Who would you like to bring us to tell the story, and how will it help impact people? So in my meditation, I heard two words, shift and Netflix. So I shared with you that I was a LinkedIn expert. So after the meditation, I decided to update my LinkedIn profile with more information about our story. And so I went out, this is Sunday afternoon, and I went out to LinkedIn and I just typed in Shift Network producers, Shift Network publicists, Shift Network people, Netflix producers, after death communication. And I connected with 30 people from the Shift Network and 10 people from Netflix. And about 3 weeks later, I just forgot about it. I let it go. And I got an email through LinkedIn from a gal named Lisa Bonice. And Lisa says, "Hey, Ann, thanks for connecting with me on LinkedIn. We'd like to know more about When Paradise Speaks with you and Risa, and I want to see your soul painting. And possibly we'd like to have you on the Beyond the Veil Summit, which is coming up in September." And I was like, holy moly, this really works, you know? And so the Shift Network is really on a mission to awaken people to achieve their full potential. And they have 3.2 million people in 180 countries. And these members take personal and professional development classes from some 3,000 faculty around the world. And Risa and I were honored to present in September a 1-hour session with Lisa Bonice about accessing spiritual connection for creativity. So, Reese, do you want to share anything about that?
Other than it was an amazing session, and again, we were in a circle with Lisa and the people on the call that we couldn't see, but who were from all over the world. And I remember when you were painting for the group, one of the things when Anne paints is she is picking up spiritual messages coming through her breath, and also the essence of the people in the room observing it. And remember, you were painting this picture, and then all of a sudden we had this sense from Lisa, because she started talking about her mother being an artist and never claiming it, that she was. And all of a sudden there was just this sense of maybe Lisa's mother was coming through somehow in the painting. So what happened, Anne?
So when I painted, it was sort of unusual this time. I was painting a very deep purple and periwinkle blue color in the vase, if you will. And I got the message in utero. Well, I've never said that word out loud before, and I said it out loud. And Lisa stopped and she said, "Well, that reminds me of my mom." And then Risa said, "I think your mom is here." Well, the story is Lisa and her mom were not on the best terms when her mom passed 3 years ago. And Lisa had tried to put her mom out of her mind and not connect with her. Where what we realized during our segment was her mother wanted to connect with Lisa and tell her that she's forgiven her and all kinds of things. And amazing things have happened since that Lisa has now reconnected, if you will, with the spirit of her mother. And Lisa is quite a famous author, and she had been sort of in a dark period on creating this book. And within about a month, she had finished this complicated book about her family life history. So was fascinating in that in the moment, the mom came through, and that segment was actually taped. And when it went, if you will, live with the people in the audience, there was a woman in the chat that was kind of saying, "Paint more yellow." And I actually painted yellow when she was saying, "Paint more yellow." Well, what I realized, there's no time and space, because I had painted that a month before, and the woman was asking me to paint yellow in the moment. So in addition to the Lisa's story. There was a woman named Denise from Canada that emailed me after the session, and she said, Ann, the colors in that painting helped me activate a healing process when I was in an abusive situation. And so she went on to tell that story. And then there was a woman, Bonnie, from New York. Remember Risa?
Yeah.
And Bonnie said that she felt her husband come through and tell her it was time for her to activate her mediumship skills, which I've since been in contact with her, and she's done just that. So, Kelly, you can see that these paintings activate different things in people, and the energy comes through just at the right time if you listen to your intuition and just acknowledge those words. Risa and I just call them blurting, right? Just blurt those words. So, because of that session, the Shift Network asked us to come back and participate in a 7-week course. Risa, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going to happen there?
Well, first of all, we're so excited for the opportunity because Anne was not an artist before she started painting Lovitude soul paintings, and I had no aspirations to write a book. I am not an English major, but those things came to life, and they're making a difference for people in the world. And the reason that they have come to life is because we listened to the messages we received. So we have the opportunity now to guide other people around the world in that process, to teach ways that they can access those ancestors, angels, the unseen helpers, that they can access them for messages that are going to help them in their own lives. And so for some people, that will be about creativity. Maybe they want to create something new or do something artistic. For other people, it'll be about accessing that area in themselves that maybe needs healing. Maybe they've been through a divorce or there's past trauma. And for other people, it'll be about transitions in their lives. Maybe they're wondering what their life's journey is all about and what they're here to do. Or they've just retired, or they're at a different phase in their life. So through accessing the spirit world, they can tap into some of that. And we have a process that was actually downloaded to Anne in a dream. We call it the 5 A's. And that process is going to be the foundation for the course. And it is about how you make the connection. So the 5 A's are ask for spiritual messages. And then you must be able to allow them in. And a lot of people are concerned about they're not sure if they're going crazy. They keep seeing the same bird coming. So to allow the messages and accept them verbatim. So Anne talked earlier about being told she's going to paint with her breath. And the first time she tried to do it, she almost passed out because she was blowing across the page. So it was about bringing a straw into that. But she took the message verbatim, and look what happened because of it.
I would love to see that piece, by the way.
Yeah. Blotchy, messy. And then to appreciate and most importantly to act on the messages. And that's how we're going to, as the teachers, bring that forth in the students of the class so that they can bring their spiritual gifts out into the world and their soul's gifts out into the world where it's desperately needed. So each week, tell them a little bit about how the weeks are going to.
Well, and it's called How Will Your Soul's Expression Reveal Itself? And that meets so many people at where they're at.
Yes.
And that's what I see. Like almost like this relay race. And you guys are going to walk up and go here, and then you'll be a little down line here, and you'll just give all these different beautiful, no matter where you are. I mean, did you just have a baby or did you just have loss? Mm-hmm. Are you an empty nester? Are you going through transition? There's so many different ways to beautifully apply this program, this 7-week program for people. Please tell us more.
Yeah, and so every person has like their individual issues, and most of us believe we're on our own with that. We've got to try to figure it out in our head or go talk to our friends and have them figure it out. But actually, we are surrounded, as you know, with loving beings who are just dying to help us, but they can't interfere, so we must ask. So each week in the course, it's going to be highly experiential. There's going to be a lot of group discussion, and we'll be doing short demonstrations each week, and then the participants will be guided into their own creative activity. And so at the end of the 7 weeks, it'll culminate with all of the creativity that they've come up with, and we have some interesting free gifts in our last session.
That's fantastic. Okay, so April 2nd is a free 1-hour event, and they can go to creativesoulexpression.com. And then...
And Kelly, they might be doing encore sessions. So if they don't get to the one on the 2nd, go to that website because you might see it repeated.
Beautiful.
And that session is meant to be just an overview of what we've been talking about today. So people who are curious can dive a little deeper into what we're going to be doing.
Beautiful. And then what's going on April 12th?
April 12th will be a Facebook Live question and answer event, and it will be 1/2 hour on Facebook. And you could find that information again on creativesoulexpression.com. And then the class actually starts on the 19th of April, which is a Tuesday. So there'll be 7 weeks, Tuesdays from 11 Central Time to 12:30 Central Time.
And all of the courses each week will be recorded, so if a person can't make that time period, they will get a copy of the class. And we also have a playbook that's going to go along with the class so that people can do work in between the sessions. And then everything we teach will be transcribed so that people will have that to take with them.
So they'll be learning 13 different ways to connect with spirit world of unseen helpers. And Risa, let's just share one of those ways.
Well, I think a really interesting one is through electricity and electronics. And, for me, my stove continuously, the light in my stove goes on, and it is a message for my brother that passed 1.5 years ago. And you can't get that stove light to go on without pressing a button. But the spirit world knows that it's easy to manipulate the electronics. So you might have the experience of a TV going on and off or lights flickering. Last week, Ann and I were recording a session in a studio with huge spotlights on us, and while we were talking about this, the lights were flickering.
And it was with Wes Hamilton in his studio. Of course, we all know Wes, which is one of the free gifts for our course as well.
So Kelly, I'm sure you've experienced electric things going on in your house. What are some...
Oh, goodness. You know what we do at our house is we get messages from so many different places. I mean, the cardinals, the swans. I mean, I talked about animals because I have so many clients that are like, I have this cardinal that just won't leave me alone. And I'm like,
Of course.
Ask him what the message is.
Say hello. Oh, there's just so many different ways. I think people, as they're starting the process, they're waiting for a sign, like an actual billboard saying, "Hi, I'm here." But that's not always happening. So it's these little beautiful whispers, a smell. It's a glimpse. It's the electricity. It's the stove coming on and off. And there's just these little moments that we connect with that we just, and then once you start to be curious about it and open to it, they just happen more and more and more.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we present, we always ask our audiences, what signs have you had, and then what did you do with the signs? And everybody goes quiet because they'll talk about signs they've seen, and then they leave it there. But that's the beginning of the process.
Mm-hmm. I have to tell you about a billboard, though. So Risa walked the Camino Trail, and you get there the first night all by yourself, and you're lost. And what do?
So I was supposed to go for 15 minutes from the train station to my hotel, but it took me 2 hours because I was in Lyon, and it's confusing. And so finally I got directions, walk down this side street. I see the sign for the hotel, but the doors are all smoked over like they shut that door. So I went around the corner thinking, they must have moved the door. And I looked up and there was a huge storefront that said Irene. And then,
Okay, you guys, if that's not a sign and that's just
a
not where
sign.
we, I mean, like, oh my goodness. You guys, when Paradise Speaks, please pick it up. Okay, to recap, we have Anne, we have Risa, we have the Shift Network. This is going to be great, you guys. CreativeSoulExpression.com. Please check it out. Also, there's information on edgemagazine.net if you want to sign up. Please, you guys, these are amazing, amazing people, and they're going to be providing beautiful value for us and our community. Hey, it is Being Curious with Kelly and Brian. We are blessed and grateful that you're with us. AM 950, thank you, and mahalo.